This is the Penny Forward Podcast, a show about blind people building bright futures one penny at a time. I'm Chris Peterson. Liz Botner and Mo Carpenter are also here, but I am recording this intro separately because we are doing something we've never done before on the Penny Forward Podcast. Every week, Penny Forward holds a weekly Wednesday workshop where we cover a financial topic in detail and offer some interactive discussion about how we might apply that to our own lives. And last week, we opened that Wednesday workshop up to the public because we invited the people from YNAB, You Need a Budget, onto the workshop to talk about their app, its accessibility features, and how you use it to implement their budgeting approach. It was a really great call, and we felt it was so good that we decided to do a little bit of editing and release it as a bonus podcast episode. So, without further ado, I turn you over to the Wednesday workshop from February 28th, 2024.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mo Carpenter. I am the Penny Forward Program Coordinator. Chris Peterson is our President and CEO. And we also have here Liz Botner, who is our Vice President. Beyond that, we do have our YNAB people here. Brittany, do you want to go ahead and introduce everybody since you know who your people are?
Absolutely. This is Brittany speaking. I'll let each of them introduce themselves here in just a moment, but we have Ernie, Rachel, and Peyton from the YNAB team on the call this evening. Ernie will be giving a presentation on the YNAB software, and then there'll be some time for Q&A for everybody to ask questions about YNAB. I know many of you have read the book, so we're looking forward to hearing your feedback. But Ernie, Peyton, Rachel, if you want to take a minute to introduce yourselves, that'd be great.
Absolutely. My name is Ernie, and I'm joining you from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I saw that Penny Forward is located in Minneapolis, so we are neighbors for a few of us, I'm sure, here. That's kind of fun. And I'm one of the teachers around here at YNAB.
My name is Peyton Chance, and I'm coming to you live from Washington, D.C. I'm a product manager here at YNAB, so I collaborate with the designers and engineers that build and develop the YNAB software.
Hey everyone, Rachel here, coming at you from Durham, North Carolina, but I'm a Midwesterner at heart, so big ups to Midwesterners. I am the product operations specialist on our product team, so I help the product managers do their best work, and I also run our beta testing program and am responsible for all of our sort of qualitative feedback streams.
Thanks, guys. And I am in Iowa, actually, Ernie, so Chris is in Minneapolis, and then Liz is out in Washington, D.C. So we've got a couple people pretty close to a couple of your people. Our overview for today is that Ernie is going to do his little presentation, and then we'll have some question and answer time. And then, of course, we will wrap up and make sure that we share with you guys our resources and any feedback streams that you need to get in contact with us. And Ernie, I think you can go ahead and take over.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. First and foremost, YNAB is a method for managing your money. And then we just happen to also have an app that implements that method. So whether you choose to use YNAB, the app, or not, you can still utilize the method. That's what I love the most about YNAB. It's accessible to anyone. So I'm going to spend some time walking through the YNAB method. And then once we walk through the 4 habits of the YNAB method, we'll get into setting up YNAB in the app. I'll show a little bit of demo and be sure that I verbalize exactly what I'm doing there so you get a sense of what it could look like in your life. And then we'll go into the question and answer time. So YNAB method. There are 4 rules of the YNAB method. Now, if you're reading the book, you've probably already read about these rules. And for the longest time, we've referred to them as rules. But lately, we've been thinking of them more as habits because they're things that you're doing regularly with your money.
Can I interrupt you for just a second?
Absolutely.
Can you tell us what YNAB stands for?
Great comment. You need a budget, but YNAB for short. So the YNAB method, the you need a budget method. And it's the secret sauce. It's the way that you gain clarity and confidence with your money. So let's go through the 4 habits. Habit number 1, give every dollar a job. So with this habit, you're simply deciding what to do with your money before you spend it. And this is actually kind of revolutionary if you think about it. If you've tried budgeting in the past, which I'm sure all of you have probably, that's why you're in this group, right? You've probably done it in a sense where you create these spending limits. Here's how much I want to spend in this category or for this particular priority. And then you track your spending. And then at the end of the month, you kind of look back and you see how you've done. But YNAB flips it on its head. With rule 1, we're going to take a proactive approach. So before we start spending our money, we're going to tell it what it needs to do. So right away, if you sign up for the app, you're going to add your bank accounts and you're going to give jobs to those dollars, right? Here's what this money needs to do before I start spending it. And then you're going to repeat that habit every time you're paid. And you're going to find that as you implement habit 1, you're going to all of a sudden gain clarity around your money. I don't know, maybe you can relate to this. The bank balance, pre-YNAB, my bank balance didn't mean anything to me. It was just this number. And when I went to spend my money, I would look at that bank balance and I would think, how much can I actually spend at the grocery store or at the restaurant with my friends? And then I would always do some mental math. Okay, I got this bill coming out tomorrow. I got that bill coming out next week. Then, okay, there's that expense. All this mental math. And basically by the end of it, I was guessing as to how much money I had available to spend at the grocery store or at the restaurant with my friends. So it didn't give me the clarity that I was desperate for. Rule 1 gives me that clarity. I'm telling my money what it needs to do. So when I go to the grocery store, I look at my groceries category and it tells me exactly of all the money I have at the bank, here's how much I have set aside for groceries. Habit 2, embrace your true expenses. True expenses are the things that you don't spend money on every single month. The yearly Prime membership, the 3-month water bill, gifts, holidays, things like that. With habit 2, we're going to be embracing them by setting money aside for those things every single month. That way, when they happen, we're ready. So really, habit 2 is just thinking about future you. And it's setting future you up for success. Maybe you can relate. Because for me, rule 2, habit 2 was revolutionary. No matter how hard I tried, I could not set money aside for things like my water bill and Christmas. Those are the 2 expenses that always stick out to me. Even though the water bill happened every 3 months and Christmas every December, they always took me by surprise. So when the bills landed, I'm scrambling to try to come up with the money to pay them. And a lot of times, if it was a bigger expense like Christmas, I would just put it on the credit card and then try to pay it off with next year's tax refund. But with habit 2 now, I'm taking a proactive approach. I am every single month putting a little bit of money aside for those true expenses, for those non-monthlies. That way, when they happen, I'm all ready to go. I've already got that money sitting there waiting to pay the bills. And so it's relieved so much stress, and there's so much less scrambling around trying to come up with the money to pay these things. All right, now we're at habit 3, and this is the one that often becomes YNABers' very favorite habit, roll with the punches. And the reason they love this one so much is because it gives them flexibility. Traditional budgeting tells you that you have to be rigid and restrictive. I'm going to spend $200 on eating out, and if I go above that, I've failed. And then through the month, if you try to stick to that, it kind of feels like that white knuckle control. We're not about that around here at YNAB. We want your spending plan to be fluid. So as your life is changing, as your priorities, as your circumstances are changing, your spending plan can change alongside all of that. And the way this plays out in the app is you have the freedom to move money around between categories. So it's oh, I spent a little bit more than expected on eating out this month. No problem. I'm going to take some extra money that I have in my transportation category, and I'll use that to cover the excess eating out. Super simple. And what I also love about Habit 3 here, there's no guilt involved. I can change my plan at any time for any reason. And then finally, we have Habit 4, Age Your Money. The idea of aging your money, it's putting time between when you earn and when you spend. And the idea here is that the longer you can put between those two events, earning and spending, the more flexibility you have with your finances, the more stability and security. Here's another situation maybe you can relate to. Early on, my wife and I were paycheck to paycheck. So as money was coming into our bank account, it was leaving just as fast. We would get paid on Friday, and basically by Friday, that money was gone because we had this pile of bills sitting there waiting for the money. So our money never was able to age. It basically got to 3 hours old, and then we were shipping it out and spending it. But with Habit 4, we're trying to put distance between those two, right? So the ultimate goal here with Habit 4 is to get you to a place where you are a month ahead with your finances, meaning you're using all of your current month's paychecks for next month's expenses. So just imagine all the paychecks, the money that you've been earning this month, February, you don't need that money this month because that's the money that you're going to now be spending in March. So by the time you end up spending those February paychecks, they've been sitting around for 30, 45, maybe 60 days. And so all of that time, that's where that flexibility, security, and stability comes in. All right, those are the 4 habits. And like I said, they're the secret sauce behind YNAB, the money management method. So now I'm going to hop on over to the YNAB app, and I will show and talk through how that method is implemented. All right, first, let me start with the accessibility features in YNAB. I'll start with the web app. So in the web app, you can zoom in, zoom out. We have an increased contrast option, which it highlights the available column. The available column in YNAB is the important one. It is telling you how much money you have available to spend, to give, or how much money you have currently saved. There are navigation options. You can, with the tab key, navigate through the interactive areas, elements of the budget, and you can also utilize keyboard shortcuts. And then YNAB also works well with VoiceOver on Mac and JAWS on Windows. And then for iOS users, you can utilize the differentiate without color option, and that's going to impact the available column. So those category balances, they will have different borders dependent on what's going on in that category. And then you can also use the increased contrast option and VoiceOver as well. And then for Android users, you can adjust the font size and you can use TalkBack. All right, web app. Broke it down into its most basic form here. We have the accounts on the left-hand side, and you can add all of your spending accounts, your checking accounts, savings accounts, credit cards. And then on the right, and this takes up most of the budget screen, you have your categories and also your category groups. The category groups are how you organize your categories. And the categories are just a reflection of you and your priorities. They represent how you spend your money. So here's how I've organized this particular plan. I have a monthly bills group, and then underneath that group, I have my rent, electric, internet, and cell phone categories. I have a frequent group for all of those things that I spend money on all the time, things like groceries, eating out, transportation. In my non-monthly group, this is what I created to embrace those true expenses: garbage, clothing, home goods, gifts and holidays. In my goals section, saving for those upcoming Viking tickets and an emergency fund. And then quality of life, I have a hobbies, entertainment, and health and wellness category. So all of the groups, all of the categories are fully customizable. You can change names, you can add emojis, you can delete, you can add, you can rearrange. Again, these categories are an expression of how you spend your money, how you save it, how you give it. So we encourage YNABers to take some time and make those their own. All right, so I'm going to close the accounts tab, this big navy blue area. We have an arrow down at the bottom. I'm going to close the accounts tab. That opens up my categories a lot more. And now we're going to start implementing the method. So I've already added my checking account. My checking account has $3,140 in that account today. And that's a big difference with YNAB. We're only working with the money that we have right now. I'm not forecasting any future paychecks, just thinking about those dollars that I have available today. So YNAB then feeds those bank balances into the ready to assign box. That's that big green box at the top of my categories. My colleague Dave calls it the big green kitchen table. And once our money is on that big green kitchen table, this is where we're going to be working habit one. Before we even start spending any of that money, we're going to decide what it needs to do for us. And then once we decide that, we assign it to the individual categories. So I've got $3,140 in ready to assign. What does this money need to do for me? Well, it needs to cover the upcoming rent. So I'm going to take $1,600 from the big green kitchen table at the top, and I'm going to enter $1,600 into the assigned column of the rent category. Once I assign $1,600 to my rent category, now I have $1,600 available. That money is available to spend, and the available category pill turns green. So I've got that green light to go ahead and spend that money now. All right, after assigning $1,600 to the rent category, my ready to assign took a big dip. Now I only have $1,540. So what does that remaining money need to do for me? It needs to cover my upcoming electric bill. So let me assign $100 into the assigned field of my electric category. Now I can see I have $100 available to spend on that bill. All right, I'm down to $1,440. I need to assign money to my internet category. So I assigned $75. Now I have money available to pay that. Cell phone, this is the last bill I need to cover. I have $1,365 left over. My cell phone bill is $140. Oh, the other thing I'm going to say here, these numbers, these assignments that you're making, they don't have to be perfect. It's absolutely okay to take a guess as to how much money you need for groceries, or maybe you don't know to the penny what your cell phone bill costs every month. Totally okay. Remember, YNAB's flexible, so we can always assign more money or we can unassign from the category at any time. We can make changes. Okay, I've set money aside to cover the 4 bills. I've got $1,225 left over. Again, what does that money need to do? Now I'm going to put this towards those frequent expenses, my groceries, eating out, and transportation. Groceries, I think I should give myself $500 there. That's kind of a guess, but again, I'm okay with that. So I assigned 500, that money's available. Eating out, let's give myself 100 there. And how about I assign $75 to my transportation category? So now I have money available to spend in those areas. All right. $550 is still available and ready to assign. And I've set money aside for all of those monthly expenses. So now we're going to start working habit 2. I'm going to embrace those true expenses, those things that I don't spend money on every single month. So my non-monthlies in this very simplified budget: garbage, clothing, home goods, gifts, and holidays. Garbage, well, that's about $90. I pay it every 3 months, and I just paid it in January. So how about I assign $30 to my garbage category? I'm getting a head start there. And then what happens is the money that I don't spend in a category, it's going to carry over into the next month. And then I can add more to it. Maybe I add another $30, and then I'll have $60 available. And then I'll add another 30 in, what is that, March, April, and I'll have 90, and then I'll have that $90 ready to pay that bill when it lands on my doorstep. Okay, clothing. Go to the clothing category. I'm going to assign about $50 there. So that leaves me with $470 in ready to assign. Let's keep going, because I'm going to be giving jobs to these dollars until my ready to assign is at 0. Home goods, we'll do 50 there. Gifts and holidays, 75. All right, now I'm down to $345 in ready to assign. It was a lot easier when I had a lot of money available, but now as we're getting down closer to 0, now I have some real decisions to make. But I always think this is kind of fun, because this is where your priorities begin to surface. As you're getting down to that last couple $100, you're like, okay, how do I want to use this money? Like, what is really, really important to me? And I got to admit, those Viking tickets are really, really important to me. So I'm going to put $100 aside for those. So now I have $100 available. And this is, again, one of those categories where I won't be spending the money that's available this month. So it will roll over next month. And I'm just going to keep adding and adding to this category until I have enough to purchase some tickets in the fall. All right, how about I put $200? I'm going to assign $200 to my emergency fund category. Now I can see those $200 are available. Okay, I only have $45 left over, and I have 3 categories remaining. Now, I don't have to assign money to every single category. Remember, this is my money. I get to do whatever I want with it. It's all about my priorities. But in this case, I think I'm just going to split that 45 across the 3 remaining categories, because I want to have a little bit of fun here. So maybe $20 for holidays. I'm going to assign 15 for entertainment, and then I don't know how much $10 can get me for health and wellness, but that's probably the lowest priority category that I have. So it's going to get the smallest amount of money. And there we go. Now my ready to assign says 0. And what this means is that every single dollar that is now sitting in my checking account at the bank, it has a job in the budget. I've organized my dollars by categories. So again, this is where that clarity comes in. Now, anytime I want to spend money, I can look at my categories for guidance. Going in the grocery store, how much money do I have available to spend on groceries? My groceries category, when I look at the available balance here at the end of the category, it's telling me I have $500 available to spend on groceries. Perfect. So that's the clarity that I'm looking for. And then there's also confidence, because I can know I can freely spend that money and still have money left over to pay my other bills. I still have money left over to save for the true expenses. I'm saving for those goals and those fun things as well. All right. One other demo. Actually, let's do two other, and then we can get to any questions. I want to also show you what habit 3 and habit 4 looks like. So the plan has been all set up, but now life is actually going to start to happen. Now I'm going to leave my computer. I'm going to go out into the world and actually start living life and spending money. And the key is to make sure all of that spending gets back into YNAB. And you can enter the spending yourself, either from a mobile app or the web app, or you can link your account directly to your bank. And then YNAB will automatically import that new spending for you. And all you have to do is categorize the transactions. You just have to tell them, here's where I want you to take that money from in my spending plan. So quick example. Let's go ahead and let's pay the electric bill. That's due tomorrow. So I'm going to open up my accounts tab. I'm hitting that arrow at the bottom of that screen. So now my accounts tab is open over on the left. I'm going to click on my checking account. That opens up the checking account register. And at the top of the register, we have the add transaction button. Click that. And now I'm just going to enter a few pieces of information about that spending. In the payee field, this is who I gave the money to. I don't know about you folks in Minnesota or Iowa or nearby here, but Xcel Energy, that's who I pay my money to. Category, where am I taking that money from in my spending plan? So I click into the category field and YNAB will bring up all of my categories. So now I can scroll through that list, find my electric category, select it, and then that populates in the category field. And then outflow, this is the field to enter the amount of money that was spent. So let's say my electric bill is $125. I click save, and now that transaction is live in my register, meaning it updates my checking account balance on the left here. And then in the budget, it updates my electric category available balance. And now my available balance is negative 25. I have overspent this category. But remember, this doesn't mean that I did anything wrong. It's just a math problem. More money came out of this category than what was available. I assigned 100. The activity field is telling me what I spent, 125. And then the available field is telling me my available balance, negative 25. So now with habit 3, I'm going to roll with the punches. I'm just going to change that original plan that I created. So I'm going to take $25 from some other category, or maybe I take it from a combination of categories. In this case, I think, let me see here. And what I'm doing is I'm scrolling through all of my available balances for my categories. And I'm trying to find a category that has some flexibility. So maybe there's a category that has a little bit more money than what I think I need, or maybe I don't quite need that money right now. Maybe I could fund that category with a future paycheck and then use the money that's there now to cover the overspent electric category. I think what I'm going to do, yeah, it breaks my heart, but I'm going to take $25 from the $100 that are available in the Vikings tickets category. As much as I want to buy those tickets, I'm not going to be buying them until probably August or September. So I've got a lot of time to come up with the money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this negative available balance that is red. YNAB brings up a prompt. Cover this overspending with. I'm going to click that arrow. And again, we have a list of the categories. I'm I'm going to scroll through those and find the Vikings tickets category. Perfect. Click that OK button. And once I click OK, YNAB moves the money for me. So it takes $25 out of the Vikings tickets category. Now I have 75 available there. And it puts another 25 in electric. So I've paid that category back. I'm good to go. And I just move on, right? There's no guilt. There's no shame. I change my plan and I'm happy with that change. All right, final demonstration. I want to show you habit 4. So first I'm going to, in my checking account, I'm going to enter a paycheck. Let's say that I was paid today. Click that checking account. In the register, I'm hitting that add transaction once again. Payee, this is the name of your employer or the source of your income. So I click into the payee field and I'm going to say YNAB, my employer. Always categorize income as ready to assign. And I'm going to enter the amount that I was paid in the inflow field. So let's say I was paid $1,800. Save that transaction. Now it is live in my account register. So my checking account balance goes up. And then in the budget, I have a brand new $1,800 in ready to assign. So the big green kitchen table has new money to work with. It's all right back to habit 1. What does that money now need to do for me? And so I'm going to be looking through my category balances. And if there's a category that needs more money, I'll add a little bit more. But let's say as I'm looking through all of these available balances, I'm thinking, I'm pretty good for February. Like I like where I'm at. I don't think I need to add anything extra. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that 1,800 and I'm going to start assigning it to my March budget. I'm going to age those dollars. I'm going to put time between when I earned them today and when I spend them sometime in March. And again, as I do this more and more, paycheck after paycheck, I start getting further and further ahead. I increase that stability and that security. So at the top of my budget, we have the date picker. Right now, I'm in February 2024. I hit that arrow to the right. Now I'm in the March plan. And then from there, I can start assigning jobs to those dollars in the March budget. All right, friends. That's my demo. Why don't we open it up to any questions that you have, any comments? Myself and the team, we're happy to help in any way that we can.
Hey, Ernie, I have a question, if you don't mind, before we open it up. I was intrigued that when I was looking at the places that I could get the YNAB app today, that there is an Alexa skill. Sorry, everybody. For YNAB. Do you know anything about that? Could you talk about that briefly and what that can do?
I do not know much about that. I've heard, because I remember a time where our founder, Jesse Meekum, was using Alexa with YNAB. And I think he was using it to enter spending transactions. So, hey, Alexa, I just spent, $45 at Hy-Vee. Categorize that to groceries. And I think you can also use Alexa to tell you how much money you have available in your category balances. But I'm not finding anything here.
Yeah, I saw a page on it earlier, and if I can find it again, I will paste it in the chat. But that was what I did read, and I'm intrigued to try it. I discovered it this afternoon, so I haven't had a chance. But it definitely gave some examples of, figure out how much you have left to spend in a certain category, log expenses. There maybe were a few other things that it could do. It looked very interesting, and I think many people on the call may be as excited as I am to try that out. Hey, why don't we open it up to the floor? There's a lot of people here, and I'm sure that some of them have questions.
Over here in Zoom, we have Christina with her hand raised.
Go ahead.
Hello. So I was playing with the YNAB app and it was really interesting. I haven't read too much of the book. I haven't gotten a chance yet. but I was trying to figure it out and I ended up with a negative number on my available, but I didn't mean to do that. So is there a way to fix it?
Christine, are you talking about the number at the top, the ready to assign number? Is that negative, or is it one of the category
Yeah.
balances? Oh, right at the top. Yeah. So what probably happened is you started funding categories with money that you don't quite have yet.
Oh,
And so the way that we fix that is you unassign money from your categories. You take it out of those categories and you send it right back to ready to assign until that's at 0.
okay.
I had that happen
All
to me
right.
too, Christina. I'm really sure of a lot of my categories, and I wanted to be proactive and kind of just go in and fill them all in. And
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do because
yeah, they don't want you to do
I,
that. They only want you to spend the money you have, and that does mean that sometimes you got to wait to fill in some of those categories.
It's a mindset shift.
oh,
It's
Yeah.
different.
Yep.
I will say that that is probably the one thing that I had the most trouble adjusting to when I started using YNAB was just the whole mindset of not forecasting and to
Yes.
actually use the money that is actually in the bank and cleared. That's the other big part is the cleared money. But I've really come to like it now that I'm much more used to that process now.
Because I understand the importance of planning, and a really good tool to help you plan, like here's how much money I need for all these things, is using targets. Targets tell the category, here's how much money I want or need. And then you can even put a date on when you want that money by.
okay. I thought I broke it, so I was like, oh no. I thought I did something really wrong, but I'm glad I can fix
Not a,
it.
you just did what millions of other YNABers have already done. I did that all the time at the beginning.
Thank you.
Has anyone here been able to read the book? I know we have a lot of the ACB community here, and so you guys might not have gotten quite enough heads up as to what we were doing this evening. I know me and Chris have, and Liz have.
Yeah, and for those of you who weren't aware, the National Library Service does have the book, and it's read by Jesse, and it's about a 5-hour long book, so it's not a bad read. Ernie, I had a question, and I think I did notice that there were some hands raised, but when we are working or want to be working, and we're also dealing with agencies like Social Security and maybe Medicaid and stuff, we have to report to them not only what we make, but we have to report to them the types of expenses that allow us to work. If we're looking through the Red Book at what blind work expenses are or impairment related work expenses qualify for, we might say create a category for guide dog expenses or for technology expenses or for transportation expenses. Some of those things might be useful to us then to be able to report to Social Security and Medicaid and so forth, in addition to our income. Because if we do that and we do that correctly, then we can be allowed to make more income by deducting those expenses from our gross income. So
Got it. I think the easiest way, because there isn't a report that you could print out and send along, but you can export all of your data. So if you click on the name of your budget in the top left, and then down the option menu there, you should see export budget, and it'll give you 2 files. It'll give you a category file and it'll give you a transactions file. And I think that transactions file would be the one you want, because that would then itemize all those expenses by category.
Yeah, yeah. There are some other things that might turn out to be useful. And for all of you that wonder what kinds of things Penny Forward might be able to help with, I did note that YNAB has an API. I am a former software developer, so I look for things like this. And so, in the future, we may investigate through Penny Forward partnering with YNAB to use their API to create reports that might help you with things like this. So
very cool.
This is Peyton from YNAB. One idea that came to mind is if spending that needs to be reported or that you'd like to be reported to really any entity, you want it to exist across categories where maybe some of your transportation spending is relevant to those entities and some of your transportation spending isn't. One alternative approach is to use flags in YNAB, which you can give custom names to flags. And then when you do that export that Ernie talked about, if a transaction has a flag, that will be exported along with it. And then you can filter down to just the ones that you flagged. It's how many folks flag certain things that need to be deducted from taxes. Similar process.
Well, very interesting. Good, thank you. Well, you all should know that our very own Mo Carpenter is, we hope, going to be going through the YNAB coaching training. So she will be a certified YNAB coach, and
Awesome.
we will be looking into how to make the most use of YNAB for some of those reporting things that get a lot of us stuck. I am noticing raised hands, so I'm going to turn it over to Liz to open it up to some of those people to get their questions in.
Sure. First, we have Rob.
I would be using the website instead of the app. Is that separated out? In other words, if I enter my credit card and checking account and stuff like that in there, I don't want everybody looking at that. So is my data, is that data my data?
Your
How is it
data
separated?
is your data. Yes. So Penny Forward has, even though the subscription would be through that organization, Penny Forward, they have no access to your data.
Unless we get a coaching experience created and you share it with us, but we can't do it by ourselves.
Next, we have Laura.
Hi, everybody. I do have a couple of questions. I'm very interested in this app for many reasons. My questions are, I have things like property taxes that I have to pay that vary, and different kinds of insurance, and I don't know what the exact expense of those is going to be. And as I said, they can vary. Definitely property tax will vary between summer and winter. I can set up something for what it might be, but how would I kind of guess ahead of time or try to estimate what that could be, or do I just wait till I get the bill? Because I do like to get my payments in early if possible. I don't like to wait till the last minute.
And saving anything is better than waiting to the last minute. So you can't go wrong by putting anything aside, any kind of amount every single month. But in those situations, I find it helpful to just look at what I paid the last time, if you have easy access to that information. And then I always give myself a little bit of buffer. So if the property taxes were in Wisconsin, we pay them every single year. If it was $3,000, well, maybe for the next year, I try to set aside $3,200. And then maybe also having another category that's almost like a miscellaneous or stuff I forgot, or maybe like an overflow category where you just put a little bit extra in every single month. Then you can utilize those funds if you have planned and you don't have enough.
Great idea. Well, I was interested in, I think it's interesting that you put the money forward to the next month. I think that might be a very good idea, but I was interested to see what you did with it and that you didn't put it into the emergency fund.
Yeah, in that particular demo, I mean, if I would have kept going with that demo, I would have added my savings account. And I probably would have used some of my savings dollars to fund the emergency category.
Oh, you can do that on the app, or?
Yep. We encourage you to add all of your accounts, your credit cards, your savings, your checking. And then for those cash accounts, like the checking and the savings, it's giving jobs to all of those dollars. So then you have that full picture of what all your money's doing.
Okay. I hadn't thought about it quite that way. I guess I figure once you put it into savings, it just kind of sits there and waits for you.
Yeah, I like having my savings in YNAB because then I know it's accounted for. So when I see what my checking dollars are doing, I can also see what my savings dollars are doing.
Okay, great idea. Thank you very much. As I said, I'm very interested in getting the app and working with it. I've wanted a budget for a very, very long time and just didn't get the help I needed.
Let's take one more question, and then I would like to close up. And I did see in the chat, how do you get the subscription? And I will make sure that we get that answered.
Okay. Rita, you may ask your question.
Hello. Got a question that is this been tested with VoiceOver, so it is working correctly with VoiceOver for reading all the fields on an app?
I turned it on to experiment and it was working for me. And I see that in our support docs, it is saying that it works with those applications.
And to add to that, Rita, when we started Penny Forward way back in 2020, one of the first things we heard from Steve Sawzen, I don't know if you recognize that name, but he is a pretty well-respected accessibility professional in the field and a blind person. And one of the first things we heard from him was, oh, you got to try YNAB. It's so good with VoiceOver. So, nothing's ever perfect, or almost nothing's ever perfect, but there's some really good endorsements there. And, we have good connections now with YNAB to help figure out any issues you might find. So I want to thank Ernie and Brittany and Peyton and Rachel. And who else am I forgetting? Really apologize if I'm missing somebody, but gosh, it was really nice to have you all here and all of the people that joined us on the call this evening. If you joined late or had to leave early for some reason, we've made kind of an executive decision to make this recording available as a special bonus episode of the Penny Forward podcast. We got to send it over to Bryn and have her do some editing and stuff. So it might be a week or so before that gets out. But if you're subscribed to the Penny Forward podcast, it'll show up there. And if you're not, this is a good excuse to go and do that. To get the subscription to YNAB, if you're already a paid Penny Forward member, simply send an email to pennyforward@pennyforward.com and say, I would like to get my subscription, and Mo will respond back and send you a link that you can use that is unique to you that will allow you to sign up. It's as simple as that. If you are not yet a paid Penny Forward member, simply go to www.pennyforward.com and select the Join Penny Forward link. It is very near the top of the page. And sign up for either a monthly membership at $9.99 a month or a yearly membership at $99 a year, whichever works best within your budget. That's why we did that way. And then once you have signed up, send an email to pennyforward@pennyforward.com and say, I would like the subscription, and Mo will send you the link. And if you need any help with the technology, you can always give us a phone call. Our toll-free number is 888-332-5558. Again, that's 888-332-5558. We do have a really small staff, so if you happen to get a voicemail machine, please do leave a message with your phone number on it. We'll call you back, and we will be happy to help you sign up over the phone. We will be happy to help you get your subscription link, although we do send that by email. And like we said, Mo is going through the YNAB coaching training, so we're going to be able to help coach you through the app as well, which I think is just really awesome. So thanks to Mo for helping us to get this partnership established. It's really, really cool. Thanks to all the people whose names I'm going to forget if I try to list you out individually from YNAB for being here. Ernie, that was a wonderful presentation. And thank you to all who joined us tonight. Really appreciate it. Good night, everyone. The Penny Forward podcast is produced by Chris Peterson and Liz Bodner, with assistance from Mo Carpenter. Audio editing and post-production is provided by Bryn Lee at superblink.org, and text transcription is provided by Ann Verdine. The music is composed and performed by Andre Louis. Penny Forward is a nonprofit organization founded and led by blind people, and together we help each other navigate the complicated landscape of personal finance through education, mentoring, and mutual support. Learn more about us and join us today to get your free YNAB subscription at www.pennyforward.com. Now, for all of us in the Penny Forward community, including Liz Botner and Mo Carpenter, I'm Chris Peterson. Thanks for listening and have a great week.